Three men block grandma at ATM. Find out they messed with the wrong granny. Three would-be muggers take their chance on a frail old lady. Little do they know she has different plans for the encounter. All too often we hear about people trying to take advantage of the elderly, from phone scams to door-to-door salesmen or just plain old thieves. A few people have low morals. For Winifred, a shopping trip turned into a scary encounter when she felt three figures looming behind her. Fortunately, Winnie wasn't just another old lady. She had a set of skills that set her apart from all the other seniors out there. At 77 years old, Winifred Peel appears much like any other older lady. Living in a small town near Liverpool, she would go about her day at a modest pace, happily retired and never in a hurry. But one day that all changed. In her younger days, Winifred had enjoyed an active life. She spent time helping her father, who was always fixing things around the house, and developed a passion for sports. As she got older, one particular discipline stuck with her, and it turned out to be her saving grace one day. One day, she started her day walking through the town, up to her favorite cafe to grab some tea and a cake. She noticed some commotion as she passed the local bank, some young men arguing with each other. Little did she know that she should have taken more note of these rowdy youngsters. She had to go shopping and get a gift for one of her best friend's daughters, but when she got to the store, she didn't have any cash on her. With only a couple of banks in town, it was a long way to the machine. Still fairly spry for her age, she walked at a quicker pace than average. But she could never have known that she'd been marked. With only a few meters to go, Winnie reached into her handbag to grab her cards. But unbeknown to her, this hesitation is what left her vulnerable. Her hands trembled and her face flushed as she heard a shuffling behind her. She had no idea what was about to happen. Embarrassed and scrabbling for her cards, she turned to see someone standing close on her heels. "You go ahead," Winnie said. "I'll be a minute." Thanking her, the woman went ahead to use the ATM. Now, distracted, Winnie failed to hear the danger approaching from behind. Winifred had never been one to mistrust people. Living on the motto, "Give kindness, receive kindness back," she went about her daily business without worries, even as she noticed tall shadows reflected in the machine's screen. She wasn't alarmed, but she should have been. She entered her PIN and hit continue. As soon as she heard the beep, her vision blurred, and she felt a force throw her to the ground. What was going on? And how could this poor old lady defend herself? It all happened in a split second. The shuffling feet, and she was suddenly lying on the ground. A sudden gush of pain jolted through her body. She felt adrenaline kick in and shook herself off. "You're not taking my money, young man," she thought to herself. And with anger in her veins, she got up and did something unthinkable. Seething with anger, she sprung back up to her feet. Before they had time to react, she was on top of them. It was the same three men who'd been making a scene at the bank earlier. Clearly, they thought they'd have more luck hassling old ladies. But Winnie was a poor target of choice. Lunging at the closest, she grabbed his head and used her full weight to wrestle him against the wall. The seconds seemed to have frozen as Winnie's face was unreadable. No fear or anger. In that instant, the thieves flew right at her. Winnie was old but very strong after all. 6 pairs of rough hands tried to seize her, but Winnie's right hand shot out and landed on one thief's face. Panicking, his accomplices wrestled him free and then sprinted away down the road. Still full of adrenaline, Winnie made to give chase before the gravity of the situation finally hit her. "It was only afterwards that I realized what I'd done and started shaking," she said. "What if he'd had a knife? I might not be here today." Thinking she'd let them get away, she cursed to herself. But it wasn't over yet. Hearing the noise, some people nearby turned the corner to see Winifred looking distressed. Running to her aid, she waved them off, instead insisting they catch the assailants. While one person stayed with her, the other two hurried off around the corner, hoping to catch a glimpse of them before it was too late. The unlucky trio of teenage criminals, Felix Stoica, 19, Piper Dumitru, 18, and Florin Gablescu, 18, were looking for easy targets that night, but underestimated Winnie's determination not to be taken advantage of. They'd driven to Bromborough from Manchester in search of vulnerable prey to target, but they got a lot more than they bargained for. The chase was short-lived. The Good Samaritans had been just a touch too late to see where the attackers had run, but the police weren't far behind. In her furious counterattack, Winnie had caused a fair amount of damage. The wall and floor surrounding the cash machine was marked from the attack, with the trail leading off around the corner. For years, Winifred had visited the gym 4 times a week. As she grew older, her routine had become less intensive, yet her persistence ensured she was still fighting fit. On the day of her attack, her body took the reins, using every ounce of strength to defend herself. Unleashing her anger, she'd ensured that the would-be thieves would be brought to justice. It wasn't long before the police caught the offenders. With a significant wound showing on his head, the man who pushed Winnie to the ground was tracked down, loitering up the road. With no plan of escape, his partners were skulking close by. Once rounded up, they were soon served the justice they deserved. Looking back, Winifred remained shaken by the incident. Had she been less fit, the attack may have ended up much worse. After their arrest, the young men quickly confessed to their horrid attack. The case was quickly brought to court, where each was sentenced to time in prison. Speaking about the nature of their crime, the judge derided their shameless actions, accusing them of casting a shadow on Winnie's twilight years.